Welcome in, everyone, back to Sports Time HQ. I'm your host, Fernando. Joined with me today is my great co-host, Keith. We're back for another waiver week. And Keith, I think it's time to say the Patriots are going back to the playoffs.
Oh man, I don't think so somehow, but I will say you probably did have the win of, this week. I mean, Mac Jones actually looked good. I mean, the your defense was a bit banged up, but they showed up, gave Josh Allen an awful time, and you pulled it out of the bag right at the end with a Mike Gesicki touchdown. You must have been happy.
I personally was shocked. I saw the Bills score, and I was like, all right, well, Bills take the lead. Probably not going to see it happen anymore. We're not going to see the Patriots win. They're not going to come back. But hey, that's one thing that's positive for the Patriots, that Mac Jones was able to come back. But I don't really see them doing anything else. But it would be really nice to see them beat the Dolphins next week too.
That would be cool. I mean, I know it was a tough matchup, but Tua and Miami didn't look that good. Use the confidence. Lots going on there now. A lot of motivation after beating the Bills, and who knows, be some win if you did go and back to back Bills and Dolphins. Then you can maybe start dreaming of the playoffs.
Yeah, of course. And of course, let's mention the Lions, because I know we have someone in the chat that's watching about the Lions. They are terrible. Oh my goodness. I put them at number 3 in my power rankings just to have them go back down in the power rankings. They looked awful against the Ravens.
I mean, Lamar didn't let them do anything. I mean, he was awesome on offense. And then the surprise was that the Lions defense has been getting better each week. That looked terrible. It was so easy to get through. Lamar could have done what he wanted. I think on the touchdown to Nelson Aguilar, he had 10 seconds in the pocket to throw the ball. That's ridiculous. I mean, the average is like 2.5 seconds, and he got 10. Like, that's just crazy. So, I mean, Dan Campbell's right. He said after, it's one of them games you don't want it to happen, but you just kind of got to forget about it and then use it as motivation next week. So, I mean, I don't think that's going to be happening too many more times to the Lions this year. They're pretty good. They're a pretty good, solid team. But yeah, it was a shock that the Ravens just kind of did whatever they want and just trashed them.
Yeah, I mean, the Lions really have to have a comeback after that game. But the Ravens, they got a nice record as well. And your Seahawks also got to win.
You got to win. We're good. We're good.
What's your thoughts? How was the game, by the way? You went to the Seahawks and Bengals game. How was that 2 weeks ago?
I mean, we didn't win, but it was good. It was exciting. I enjoyed it. Bengal Stadium is okay. It's fine. It's nothing to shout about. It's old, but we had good seats.
Is that your first time going?
My first time going to the Bengals. Yeah, I've seen the Seahawks before down in Detroit. So it's my second time seeing the Seahawks. But it was good. But I mean, we got to their 8-yard line 3 times, and I think we only got 3 points out of it. That killed us. Like, I mean, we score on one of them plays, we win. We had we look better. We had all the stats, better than the Bengals. I think Joey B looked a bit better in terms of his mobility, but his passes, he hit Jamar Chase twice in the helmet with a pass, like as he was running away. There was some just he wasn't up to scratch. He wasn't on point, and they got over the line in the end. But the Seahawks kind of, they bet themselves not taking their chances in the red zone. But this week, a little bit the same, I suppose, but not up against as good as a team as the Bengals. So good win. Good to see Jackson Smith, Nick Jigba get his first touchdown. Yeah, and the Seahawks defense is pretty legit, though, I have to say. That looks, when all the guys are healthy, they look pretty good. So we'll see. Geno needs to play better, and we'll see where we go.
Yeah, you guys are 4-2 right now. Technically only 1 game behind the 49ers. Depending on what happens tonight, they could be 2 games behind. But you got the Browns coming up, which will go right into the news and injuries about Deshaun Watson and Jerome Ford. Watson, of course, there's rumors that he is going to be placed on IR. We don't know that just yet, but head coach of the Browns did mention that he cleared a concussion protocol, but he didn't want to put him back out there during the game. And I guess they want to protect their franchise quarterback. Probably going to move on from him because they're the Browns and they have nothing good going for them. But he said that they was expecting Watson to start this next week in week 8. But earlier reports named Keith said that you might be going on IR. So Keith, I don't know if you want to elaborate on that one.
I just seen it earlier saying that there's a chance that he could go on IR because he said he had really bad soreness in his shoulder, and we seen on the 2 interceptions. I mean,
Yeah.
he could not throw the ball that far. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see what happens. Maybe there's an update, and they're hoping he's going to play. But yeah, the earlier report I seen, there was a chance to go on IR because they want to sort out whatever this bruise is
Yeah.
in the shoulder.
Is PJ Walker at all fantasy relevant, you think?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. I don't really think so either. I mean, he's got mobility, which may be something to look at. But I think the real winner of this, if Watson goes on IR, is Elijah Moore. Because PJ Walker likes throwing to Elijah Moore more than Amari Cooper.
Yeah, and probably I know we're going to move on to Jerome Ford, but any of the running backs that are fit and healthy, Kareem Hunt, he was banged up going into the game, but he still had a nice day. But they're gonna be the ones that will see an uptick in carries.
Yeah, Jerome Ford, he is right now questionable for week 8, but he is planning on missing 1 to 2 weeks now that we've heard. He had a boot, right? He had a protected boot on his right ankle as well.
Yeah.
So that just means Kareem Hunt. We'll see if he can start. If he can't start, Pierre Strong, a former Patriot.
Yeah.
I guess he's going to get the start.
Yeah, he got some work, when
he doesn't look bad.
The game. Yeah, he hasn't looked bad. So he's probably going to be could be a sneaky one for the waivers. I don't know if anyone's talking about him later, but just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm intrigued because I do think Kareem Hunt's value goes through the roof because I think he can be an RB1.
Yep.
But if Hunt's gone, I think the Browns know how to use their running backs. They know how to utilize their running backs. So I think if Hunt also is like banged up or maybe does start but doesn't play too much, then I think Pierre Strong could be another guy that ends up doing well.
Yeah, I mean, he looked all right like last week, and then we seen him. I think we seen him in the game. Nick Chubb went down as well, and he looked pretty good that game too. So, I mean, it's just about taking your opportunities, right? So if he comes out and plays well, who knows? He could be a lock then.
Yeah. Another injury for quarterbacks, anyways, is Justin Fields. He is doubtful for week 8. A lot of fantasy people wanted to get Justin Fields because of his mobility, but unfortunately, that has not been the case this year. He's been struggling with injuries. And Tyson Bagent, is that how you say it, or Bagent?
Bagent or something, I don't know.
Okay, well, we're going to go Bagent then. But Tyson Bagent, 12 fantasy points. He looked good, and Deontay Foreman also helped him look good as well.
Yeah. I mean, Foreman was just destroying everything on the ground. This is a guy that was like inactive for most of the games when they had Herbert and Roshan Johnson, and then he just cleaned house. But doesn't say a lot for the Raiders defense, though, to be fair.
No, and not to mention the rookie Bagent has the same amount of wins as Justin Fields this season.
Yeah, I know. And what was
Isn't that terrible?
It's terrible. And he was like, what, Division II college, Shepherd University or something like that. Yeah, I mean, fair play. You got to take his chance. And there was also rumors flying around, but this was prior to that game, that because the Bears don't have a first-round pick because they traded it, right, that they could trade Fields, but they reckon like a second-round pick is at most of what his value is right now.
Really?
So, yeah, because they just go with Badgen to try and get some capital, but they're looking to obviously get into the first round somehow.
Wow, that's interesting. You know that Brock Purdy, there was rumors that the Vikings were heavily to pursue.
Yeah.
It's crazy. All that today.
There's 3 teams: Vikings, 49ers, and I don't know, there was another thing.
I couldn't remember. I can't remember the other team.
Yeah, was it the Bucks maybe? But they were all trying to get him if he didn't get picked, and obviously he went last then to the 49ers.
Mr. Irrelevant becomes relevant in the NFL.
Exactly, that's it.
Some other injuries. Bijan Robinson, he didn't really have much. He was a bust this week for anyone who started him, 0.3 points. He faced an illness in week 7, but he said he woke up, he had a huge headache, and he just didn't feel right. I'm guessing he's going to be available for week 8. I'd be shocked if he has his headache last throughout the whole week.
Yeah, I mean, this is all a dodgy situation. I mean, the Falcons are being investigated now because of this. Because the initial story we didn't find out till halftime in the game was that he had a headache. And then it was trying to say that, like, oh, when he got down to the sideline, he wasn't feeling well. Then he comes out and was like, oh, I woke up with this. Then it's like, okay, why didn't you report it to the league? So now the Falcons are in trouble. But again, I seen a tweet, and this could be totally crap, right? Total crap. but it said that he was caught with a vape smoke thing during the week,
Okay.
and this is why he was kind of being punished or something.
But what's
Like
they're not
he was smoking some sort of vape during training or going to practice or some stuff, and this week
is
he was being
they
punished.
banned in the NFL?
I have no clue. I mean, not in the NFL. I just mean probably like Arthur Smith's punishing him for some stuff.
Interesting.
I mean, again, it was on Twitter. Half the things on Twitter is probably not true, but I just thought it was interesting because it's a bit like really like if you have a headache, I'm pretty sure you can still play though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to be like a migraine or something really bad that you can't see out one of your eyes or something because like most people are playing with a headache. Let's be honest.
And he did come into the game, but he didn't come until the end of the fourth quarter.
That's it, yeah. And I think he was he not in but got no snaps or something like that, or like just block or something. I'm not sure.
I think so. I mean, he really just didn't see any action with the ball.
No. I mean, it's an odd situation. Put it that way.
I don't know what they're doing at Atlanta, but they're not doing it right.
No, exactly. Yeah, they're not doing it right.
No. Some other ones, David Montgomery, he was out in week 7 with rib injury. Just monitor that this week. See if he can play. If he can't, look for Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs had a good week. Wide receivers, Christian Watson, knee injury. He could go back on IR.
Yeah, that did not look good when he went off on the side. He was in a lot of pain.
Yeah, and that just means Romeo Doubs needs to be owned in every league because I think he's under 70% because we're going to be talking about him later today. Another one, your boy DK Metcalf. He was out for week 7. Kind of a late game time decision scratch with the hip injury. I think he should be fine in week 8, but honestly, just monitor that this week. If not, Jake Bobo, hey, you got him too.
Bobo, what a catch. It was a great show from Gino, but what a catch, man. That has to be like up there catch of the season so far.
I started him in one of my leagues.
Oh, good man. It must be a deep league. Deep league.
It was a deep league.
Yeah, it had to be.
It was a deep league. I started him. I started Mac Jones as well in another league. And it ends up.
Did you win?
Yeah, I think so. I think I did in both of those. It was just shocking to see that I'm like, I really don't have much of anyone else. Let me just throw these guys in, maybe get some points. Got lucky, I guess.
It was a terrible week for buys. Like so many good players on buys. It was terrible for that.
A lot of people. Deebo Samuel, he was out with a shoulder injury. Monitor that for this week. Tight ends, Luke Musgrave, kind of the big one, I want to say. He's got an ankle injury. He's in a boot. Kind of see where he's at for that. And obviously, if he's also out and Christian Watson's on the IR, then, I mean, it's Dobbs' land.
Dobbs' season, yeah. Another a tight end, though, I think in maybe the last couple of hours was Dawson Knox with his wrist.
Oh, yes, that's right.
He's out. He's been knocked out, and they don't know the timeline, so he could go on IR.
Yeah, which means your boy that you'll be talking about later today should see a rise in game time play.
Exactly.
So yeah, Dawson Knox. I want to say he's going to be out for at least 4 to 6 weeks with a.
I'd imagine it. Yeah, I'd imagine
at
going
least.
IR and be at least 4 weeks, and then see how it is after that.
Yeah,
I can't see it being any sooner. Like I can't see it being 2 weeks.
Maybe if it was like I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but wrist injury, you have to catch a ball. So
yeah, exactly.
Unless you're catching it one-handed, then I don't know.
It's gonna hurt for a while.
Yeah, but last one for injuries is Gerald Everett. He had a quad injury, questionable for week 8, but they say that he should be ready to go in week 8 against the Bears. Just kind of monitor his practice status, but that's really the only thing they expect him to play. Just watch that, I guess. Concussion protocol, easily Jimmy Garoppolo out for week 7. Monitor that this week. You're probably not starting him. At least you shouldn't start him, nor should you be starting Hoyer.
No.
Aiden O'Connell looked good, though.
I mean, I was surprised O'Connell didn't get a go again. I mean, like, and it took.
I think he deserved it.
Same here, and it took them so long then to put him in. I was like, Hoyer is not getting any better, guys. We know what Hoyer is like. You know what I mean? It's like
he's not getting younger either.
Exactly. Yeah. True. I mean, it was just
that just means Josh McDaniels is going to be out the door very soon.
Oh, were we not calling this on the pod all last year, and he's still there? I think it's time to start calling it again.
Josh McDaniels out. He's going to go get an assistant offensive coordinator role in New England, just like how Matt Patricia did it.
Yeah. Going to go back and Bill Belichick bringing all his buddies back in.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how Bill Belichick runs the place.
That's it, exactly.
He needs to give up the GM role, but...
Question before we actually... moving on, I suppose, but while we're talking about Belichick, what do you think about this kind of secret multi-year contract that he signed in the offseason that nobody really knew about? What do you think
That's
about that?
interesting. That's news to me because
Oh, did you
I
not
don't
hear
know.
this?
I didn't hear this.
That came out like right before the 1 o'clock games, or like and all that, like right before kickoff. That Belichick signed like some multi-year contract in the offseason.
I didn't hear this. How
Yeah,
did I
yeah.
not hear this?
Because everybody was kind of saying, like, well, what's going to happen is will they actually sack Belichick, before the Bills game, thinking the Bills are going to win and you're going to have like one of your worst records. But yeah, apparently there was like a multi-year contract was signed. Look it up.
I mean,
Have a look.
I don't really see anything happening personally. I think Bill Belichick's going to stay there. If anything, they might give him say like, listen, you need to get like an assistant GM. You still call the shots, but get an assistant GM so that way you still have like you have someone else giving you some information because it's not 2004 anymore.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm surprised you haven't heard that. You should go look it up and see what you think.
Yeah, I that's news to me. A multi-year deal. Yeah, I'm seeing this right here.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't hear this. I can't
Boy
believe
in
I
New
didn't hear
England
this.
doesn't know about New England. Come on.
No, I guess not. I mean, no. I've been talking to so many of my friends who are diehard Patriots fans, and not one has also mentioned it.
Yeah.
Which is bizarre. Which it clearly went under the radar.
It went under the radar, but it sounds things like all summer and all that, and then I don't know where it came from, but like right before the kickoff to the game, it was like, well, this just came out all over Twitter, on the news, like Belichick has signed this multi-year deal, so he's not going anywhere for the time being, regardless. If you rack up like 10 losses, it doesn't matter.
Man, I must have been under a rock.
Yeah.
What? I'm so shocked. Here's the thing. I think if the Bills beat the Patriots that game, I think more information would have came out. Like more things would have came out on that. But I think because the Patriots won, they kind of aren't really talking much about it because he still has a job and there's no concern.
Yeah, and it was his 300 win and against the Bills, especially. That kind of rubs it all in as well, which is a lot better.
I do know he got the 300th win. I do know that one. I got that part. But the multi-year deal.
He's been waiting on that.
Yeah, he's been waiting on that for a while.
No.
If Brady was there, he would have already had it.
Oh, a long time ago, I'd say. A long time
he's
ago.
He's also currently on pace to be one of the most losingest coaches of all time as well.
Yes, I've seen that. Like, how do you win so many Super Bowls and have so many losses? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and it's just I was shocked. I read that article. I think he's like, I don't know, 12 losses away or 8 losses away. I don't know. He's close though. He's very close.
Yeah, but then again, he's not a million miles away. Depends how long this contract is of getting up to Don Shula and all them as well. So
yeah, he will be losing his coaches though. He'll be the most losing and the most losing.
Yeah, which will be. I don't know whether you want to be proud of that or not. Yeah, it's a great stat, but whether you want to be proud of that, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. But it's week 7, going on to week 8. We got only Monday Night Football left. Who is in the playoffs right now? That's what I want to talk about. Okay. Now, so the NFC, I'll just go quickly. Eagles, 49ers, Lions, and Falcons. Those are the division winners as of right now. Then it goes the Seahawks, the Cowboys, the Buccaneers. Those are the 3 wild card spots. Keith, I want to talk to you more about the wild card spots. The Seahawks, the Cowboys, the Buccaneers, and then I want to talk to you about the Rams, and the Commanders, and the Saints, because they also have three wins as well. Is there any team around there that you think can have a good chance of making playoffs that currently sit outside the playoffs? The Rams, Commanders, Saints, or even the Vikings, which I don't think so, but Rams, Commanders, Saints. Any of those teams stand out to you that could potentially make a run for the playoffs?
Yeah, unfortunately to me, probably the Rams. I'd imagine have the best. Yeah. They have probably the best quarterback, the best set of receivers. We not having your segment? No, I've just opened the door for your segment there on the Rams receiver. No, you don't.
Puka Nacua.
I was laying on
I got him in a trade. I got him in a trade this weekend.
What you give
Probably
up?
the most lopsided trade I've ever seen. It's a 32-team league, and I gave up Amari Cooper for Puka Nacua straight up.
Oh, it's not that bad though. I mean, is it dynasty though?
No, redraft.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's bad.
yeah.
I was thinking like bad. I was thinking dynasty. Well, then fine, because like look when Puka
Yeah,
Nakua is when you've got him for as many years as you want. But now it's like, all right, yeah, okay. But then again,
yeah.
with Watson out, like on paper, it might seem bad, but like if Watson does go out, PJ Walker is PJ Walker not very good. He's a backup. Puka Nakua is still gonna ball. I think he's gonna have more good games than bad games, and I think he'll be able to live with Cooper Cup. I think the two of them can still have high scoring weeks. So I'm whatever. I don't mind that. You're more of an Amari Cooper guy than I am, to be fair. So
He's selling me. He's selling me this year.
he is, yeah. But depending how your team's made up, I think that's fine. I mean, I get where you're coming from. Where Amari Cooper is because the name and he's more known. But Puka Nakua,
Yeah, but Nakua's been well known now.
he
He's
is,
wide receiver
and
6
that's
right
what I'm
now.
saying. There's nothing stopping him. But barring injury, touch wood, I hope he doesn't get. He could not stay in top 10 of wide receivers.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, going back, yeah, the Rams, I think is the best. The Saints, Derek Carr is like just all over the place with the receivers. I mean, he didn't have a bad fancy day, but they really struggle to get on the same page. I mean, half the time it's just dump offs to Kamara because I don't know whether he just doesn't trust that offensive line or he just doesn't want to hang around or what, but it just doesn't look great. The Vikings, no, I don't think so. No. But they're just they're the same as last year. They need to outscore teams heavily to win. It's just you can't do that week in, week out. Who else did you say?
Well, I'll lead into now on the Seahawks, Cowboys, Buccaneers.
Okay.
Those are the ones that currently are in the playoffs for the NFC, and I'll include the Falcons too because obviously that's close division games. Are any of those four you think could possibly leave the playoffs for maybe make room for the Rams?
Oh well, I wouldn't be surprised with us.
Whoa! I have some faith in your Seahawks.
I do, but when I seen Geno in person, I literally made the decision right there and then. He's not the guy to get us anywhere near a Super Bowl. And I like Geno, but when I seen him in person, it's just like when the pocket collapses, he doesn't move his feet quick enough. And he can move. He's not like he's robot and really slow. He can move. He just doesn't move quick enough. Doesn't make his decisions quick enough, even when he has a lot of time. I mean, I get it was a really bad game and probably one of his worst as a Seahawk, but to get within 8 yards of the Bengals, goal line and to come away with 3 points was terrible. I mean, his decision making was terrible. I get the offensive line isn't brilliant, but he's got to do a lot more. So I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it's just to fall out of there. Cowboys, I think, are pretty safe. I think they're really hot and cold and they're missing Diggs, but I'd say they're pretty safe. I think the Washington Commanders was the one you said earlier. I mean, I don't know how they're close because Sam Howell is just, what's he take, 40 sacks, the most in the league. I mean, that's just crazy. Who else? So the Seahawks, the Cowboys.
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, you got the Buccaneers who are currently in the playoffs.
Yeah, that can go
Here's my take on this. So I agree with you. The Rams on the NFC, I think they're the ones that push into the playoffs, and I think the ones that leave the playoffs is the Buccaneers because if you look at the Falcons and Buccaneers, those are the two big teams in the NFC South that have a chance to win the division. You can argue the other ones, but I mean the 0-6 Panthers aren't going anywhere. But the Buccaneers have a tougher schedule than the Falcons. And I think the Falcons, even though they may want to tank for what reason, I don't know, because Arthur Smith doesn't know what he's doing. The Falcons are going to win the division. They're going to make the playoffs. And I think the Buccaneers, unfortunately, they have harder teams they're going to face. I mean, some of them, Jaguars, you could argue the Packers are here and there. They still have to face the Falcons twice. Then you go on to face the 49ers. You're facing Buffalo next week. Then you're also facing the Texans. You got a tough schedule for the Buccaneers. So I don't personally see the Buccaneers making it.
Yeah, I can go with that. I mean, to be fair, I'm not a Baker Mayfield fan, but I actually think he's given his team a better chance of winning than previous years.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
He's playing a lot better. I just can't get my head around what the Falcons are doing. I just don't get it. I don't really get how they're using the running backs, even when Bijan's healthy and he's out there. I don't get it. There's still too much of. I know you like Algier, and I think he's fine, and
he's good this week. He
He
did good
did,
this week.
and he was good for fancy last year. But I just don't get why they lean on him so
I don't
heavy
know what
when
they're
you
doing.
have Bijan, and then you see now you have Cordero Patterson in the mix. Even he had a good week, but now
He looks good.
he's still probably going to be in the mix with Bijan coming back. So I don't get what's going on. Kyle Pitts isn't seeing enough targets. He's practically the
Yeah.
backup to Jonnu Smith, really now. If you know, if you look at the work he's getting, and then you got Drake London, who's kind of been iffy. But yeah, I don't really get what's going over there with the Falcons. Like you said, Arthur Smith's just, I think they're winning games somehow, but he's not really trying to win games. If you know what I mean.
Yeah,
It's
he's
more
trying to kind of win, but not win, even though
yeah.
he accidentally won this
That's
past
it.
week.
It's more by accident. It's more like luck than actual good judgment.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what's going to happen in the NFC. Trade deadline is going to come around next week on Halloween. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Any spooky trades ends up happening. I mean, we already saw the Eagles make a trade for the Tennessee Titans safety. So, I mean, they're just going to be elite again. But
They're just loaded.
going to the AFC, we already have someone in the chat, Brendan over here, saying the Bills suck. That's all he wants to add.
Well,
I will say
you'll be happy with that.
yes, I will say. I feel bad for the Bills because the Bills are such a good team. They have a high-powered team.
When you feel bad for the Bills and you're a Patriots fan, you're in the division. I don't feel bad.
I would like to stay non-biased here. As a Patriots fan, putting on my bias cap, I hate the Bills. But if non-biased, the Bills are a good team. The Bills are a good team. It's just they just don't look good. You know why? Because it's the EA Madden curse. Josh Allen was the cover. The Bills are cursed. It's just what happens. But
the problem is with the Bills, Josh Allen has to make like an insanely crazy play every play. Like every time he gets that ball, he has to do something crazy. The offensive line doesn't hold up enough, and then he's doing cartwheels and somersaults and trying to throw it long, and it's just, yeah, I get they're hit with injuries as well, but so is every team. But I just feel like maybe maybe at times Josh Allen's trying to do too much as well, whereas he could just sit back in the pocket and throw the ball. But yeah, it seems like he's got to make this wild play all the time, and like, let's be honest, 90% of the time it works, but you know that 10% is why they haven't won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I mean, you've seen them, like, he's ran a couple times, but they don't want him running. And he's a mobile quarterback. In my opinion, he's a mobile quarterback. Use him to his ability that he can do. Why change what he was doing good with? That's what I think. And Gabe Davis kind of has been irrelevant a little bit this year. I mean, you haven't really seen him much in recent weeks. And
terrible.
I mean, hey, Bills, maybe they need another wide receiver. Tennessee's not looking to go to the playoffs. You could be getting DeAndre Hopkins.
D-Hop there, yeah. And what about I was thinking about this. If Tennessee lose the next two games, they're probably just gonna, I don't know, get rid of Tannehill, just put in a rookie, get rid of Henry, get rid of D-Hop. So say D-Hop to the Bills, and I'm thinking Henry to the Ravens.
The Ravens, that's a good one. That's a good one. But I don't know. It looks like they don't want to shop Henry.
He's only got I think he's only got a year left in his contract too. So I'd say it depends what they probably won't get for much for him, but like at his age, they're probably like, take your chances.
Yeah, and I mean the Bills, they've had just so much injuries, so they're struggling. They're struggling a lot, especially as we already talked about earlier. Knox having the surgery on its wrist, you know.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on the Bills possibly getting Jerry Jeudy, or even Cortland Sutton?
I wouldn't mind that. I think more of a chance of Jerry Jeudy. I think Russ and Sutton have kind of hit it off now. I heard everybody on that Denver team is, you know,
up for
sale.
Yeah.
But I think if the way Russ is talking, they've got a connection there, and Jeudy kind of lost the plot. And did you see? I don't know if you've seen the whole thing with Steve Smith. Kind of lost the plot and all that stuff because he's made comments about him and all that. But I think that would be good at wide receiver too. Definitely a good addition to the Bills. I mean, Jerry Jeudy is a talented
he is
receiver.
I think Cortland Sutton is too. I think Sutton's better than Jeudy personally.
I agree. I always like Sutton over Jeudy. It was just more the thought process that Jeudy was the wide receiver one, but he's not a wide receiver. He'll be a good wide receiver two for the Bills, you know, playing on the other side to Diggs.
Okay. Well, looking at the AFC for the playoffs right now, Chiefs, Dolphins, Ravens, Jaguars. Those are the 4 division winners at the moment. And then it goes the Steelers, the Browns, and the Bills. The Bills still hold a wild card spot. Now, I'll talk to you on, out of those teams, do you have any team in mind that you think could sneak out of the playoffs? Personally, I'm thinking the Browns. I think the Browns won't make it.
Yeah, it's going to be too much going on with their quarterback situation. And the Browns will always be the Browns, right? They always find a way to lose or trade away players. Or that's it. Because I heard they're one of the teams that are willing to buy and sell. So if they kind of go more on the sell side, they'll definitely drop out. And let's be honest, that game was wild the weekend.
That was the refs. What's going on with these refs?
Oh my God, the refs everywhere. Don't even get to me with that Rams and Steelers finish. The refs on that was bananas. That was just ridiculous. Someone's
the Eagles Dolphins.
Yeah. There was some crazy. I don't know, but it seemed like it was the way we always have that weekend where the kickers miss and then the injury. This was the ref weekend where every single ref was just terrible.
Yeah.
But like Cleveland's defense was one of the best coming into this, and then they what did they concede, like 38 points or something crazy?
39-38 final score.
To Gardner Minshew of all players. I know it was that
Minshew magic. Magic.
He's, what do you reckon? I heard a comparison. I thought it was very good. He's like the new Jameis Winston. He'll get a load of touchdowns, but he'll throw a load of interceptions or something like that. Yeah. He's like the new Jameis.
I can see that. I can see that easily. I mean, I liked Minshew when he was in Jacksonville. Unfortunately, he's not in Jacksonville anymore. But I mean, I think he could lead the Colts to wins, and I think the Colts should have won last game. Personally.
Oh yeah, they should have won. I mean, he definitely can. He can lead a team to win games. He's good enough. I think everybody loved him in Jacksonville, and you had the whole Minshew mania, and then the hair and all the merchandise that they made off and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Was kind of overshadowing the actual player that he is, an actual pretty good quarterback. You know what I mean? He's serviceable. Yeah. He can get it. He can get a team wins. The only problem is that Colts secondary is just awful. If you just throw a ball straight down that middle, there's going to be no Colts player within like 10 yards of whatever player, was trying to catch it. It's just wide open every single time. And that's the problem. And he's going to have to try and outscore teams, I think, as well. Like, what we've seen this week didn't obviously pay off, but that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, the Colts are 3-4 right now. And I'll talk to you about Colts, Bengals, Jets, Texans. Those are the 4 outside the playoffs. Any of those you think could sneak into the playoffs? I'm probably going to guess, for your safety, is the Bengals.
Well, they're kind of the obvious ones, right? You'd imagine, but they've got tough games coming up. I mean, they're 49ers and then the Bills, I think. So the next couple of games.
And if you want to mention the Chargers too, who are currently 2-4.
Nah, they just know how to lose. The Chargers, they literally find a way out to lose. I like Justin Herbert, but I just don't think he's that next step. And I'm not putting it all on his shoulders. I think the defense is pretty crap. And they've got good weapons. Like, they got Allen, Everett, Palmer, Williams when he's healthy, Eckler. They have got good weapons. It's not all on him, but still they just can't get over the line. And while he's there, they can't get over the line. It'll just be associated with a team that just can't make it. So I'm just ruling them out just based on that. I just think they always lose some silly games just purely because their defense is really bad and Herbert's going to put it all on the shoulders and then, throws an interception late on the game and that's it, So I'm kind of ruling them out. But yeah, the Bengals are the obvious ones. Just got to get through some tough games coming up. The Jets are interesting because they're winning. They have the pieces, bar maybe Zach Wilson. I mean, they have a good defense. They've got Garrett Wilson. They got some nice pieces. They got some good running backs. It's just, can Zach Wilson get it going and be consistent? Yeah. Or can they just lean on Breece Hall heavily? That way.
I would love that.
That's what I thought was going to happen when they said
they're also looking to get rid of Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, he's on the trade block apparently, but he hasn't looked that good, to be fair.
No, he hasn't.
So I don't know. They're kind of interesting because what will be very good is that say they did, and all of a sudden Rodgers is back because he's aiming to try and play again.
Yeah, he's trying to play in the playoffs.
There's a whole different dynamic then to that Jets team.
But here's the thing. if Rodgers makes the playoff, say the Jets make the playoffs and Rodgers is healthy to come back, are you willing to bring him back after just coming back from an injury and not playing the whole entire season?
I don't think he'll give you a choice. I think if
No,
he's
he's not. But
oh, I don't
I just
think
don't
so.
see him.
If it was my decision, if I was Robert Salah, I'd be saying no. But like Rodgers is determined to play this year, so I think either way, if he gets the clear from the doctor and he's fit enough to get out there, he's going to be telling Salah, "I'm playing." End of.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but it'd be just interesting.
Yeah, I'd like to see the Bengals make it as well. Jets, you mentioned an interesting one. I want to talk about the Texans just a touch, just mentioning their name. They're 3-3 right now, 500. They have a chance to make the playoffs, and I like them a lot. I think they can easily make it. I do want to also mention the Dolphins. Now they sit number 2. They're 5-2. I do think, might be a hot take, they might not make playoffs this year.
I don't think maybe a little hot takey, but a lot of people going into say last night's game were kind of saying like, well, yeah, what are they 5-1? But who did they beat? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Here's the thing:
they haven't played a real good team until last night.
They beat the Chargers, who sit 2-4, and they barely beat them, 36-34. They beat the Patriots by a touchdown. They beat the Broncos handfully by 50 points, 70-20, which that was why their name has been blowing up. Then they get smoked by the Bills the following week. They beat the Giants, who aren't that great. They beat the Panthers, who aren't that great. They lose the Eagles, who are great. Then you want to face the Patriots. It's a division game, tough game. International series against the Chiefs, probably going to lose that game. You face the Raiders. Okay, you should win that game. The Raiders aren't that good. The Jets, again, division game. It's a toss-up. Commanders, I mean, you should win that. You should. The Commanders don't look that great recently. Titans, you should beat. Jets, again, division game. Then you go on to face the Cowboys, who are decent.
Yeah.
You go on to face the Ravens, who just smoked the Lions. Then you finish against the Bills.
Not an easy schedule. And I can see where people are coming from, where they're saying, they haven't, when you go through them, they haven't played anyone that good, and anyone they have, they lost to, which were the Bills and the Eagles. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they fell out, put it that way. But your Texans, I really like what they're doing there. I really like how they're building it. I really like CJ Stroud. I like Collins. I like Dell. I mean, they got to get the running game going a bit with Pierce. I wasn't all in on him this year, but I think he'll get there. I think it'll be a year too soon. And I think if I was in the Texans organization, I'd be fine with that, because I think they're building something nice there that they could have, a really strong team going forward. Yeah.
I mean, I like that team. I think that team has a bright future.
Yeah. About time, because they've been, Bill O'Brien.
Ever since Watson left.
Really. But Bill O'Brien made a mess of all their draft picks. There was so many years they had no draft picks and couldn't go anywhere because he kept trading them away.
And now they have something.
Exactly.
But all right, that's all we got for playoffs. Let's get into our main segment, waiver wires. Week 8 waiver wire quarterbacks. I'll start with myself, because I'm going to get in my car, go drive to Indianapolis, and I'm going to suit up Mr. Derek Carr on my fantasy football team. 34% owned, 18.44 points against Jacksonville. He's been a top 10 quarterback the last 2 weeks, 17 plus points in those 2 weeks. He's got options. He's got Thomas. He's got Shaheed. He's got, who's the other guy? Oh, Olave? Yeah, he's wide receiver 1 there. And then he's got Taysom Hill, who's been popping off. Alvin Kamara has been getting a lot of targets. They face the Colts next week, who give up on average 17 points to quarterbacks every single week. Derek Carr is a solid QB to start this upcoming week, especially there's no bye weeks this upcoming week either.
No.
I like Carr.
Yeah, I think he's a good stream option. Like, I think I spoke about him earlier. Like, I have him in a few spots that I got to start him in, like Superflex, kind of start him as QB2. I think he is a good start this week because, like I said earlier on, the Colts are just bad in the secondary. It's a wide open there. Like, I'd imagine if Thomas and Olave can just run straight down the middle, he can find them. I mean, this needs to be a get right game though for Carr and the receivers, because they just haven't been on the same page for a lot of games this year, and there's been a lot of dump offs to Kamara because of that. And then you get Taysom Hill mixing in and all
Yeah.
these runs because of it and stuff. But if he can just show that he's on the same page with Thomas, Olave, Shaheed, I mean, these Taysom Hill kind of packages that they put in will come less and less unless they put him around the goal line. Because kind of right now they need him, to kind of get that first down because they haven't been that good. But I think it's definitely a good matchup to target this week against the Colts. So yeah, I like to pick on Carr this week.
Yeah, and Carr, he knows how to win games. They were able to win in the beginning. They just kind of fallen off in the mid-season here. They got to get themselves back up if they want to try and make playoffs because they have an open division.
Yeah, and their defense has been pretty good. Like, the problem with the defense is they've been on the field in recent games too much. So that's where they get hurt. Carr just needs to, do his thing, get on the same page with the receivers, get them moving down the field, keep their own defense off, get them a rest, because they're not a bad, like when you have a look at all the players on offense and defense, they're not a bad team.
No, they're not. It's a team that, I mean, power rankings wise, I had them top 10 at one point. Yeah. They looked like a good team.
Yeah, no, I can see how you would have them as a top team when you look at the individual stats.
Yeah, but I want to talk about your guy because I do like your guy a lot. Are you building that picket fence in Pittsburgh to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars this upcoming week?
I think they could. I mean, it's Kenny Pickett, as you basically said. I mean, I thought he was coming up to the bye. I thought he had a terrible start and he was slowly improving. Then the bye week, and I was kind of thinking bye weeks kind of came at the wrong time for them. You kind of want to see him progress, but I thought he looked pretty good, and he definitely got back on board with Deontay Johnson, who came off IR, and George Pickens. He had a lot of good targets to him.
Got some good ones, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he threw for 230 yards, coming off the bye against a solid Rams defense, which is pretty good. And I think he fell over the goal line for a touchdown. 15 fantasy points at the end. I mean, it's nothing to scream or shout about, but it's solid. But he's playing the Jags this week, and I think the Jags are a little bit better, but I don't think they're really showing the potential they could have. I know they had some weeks in London and they may have been tired and stuff like that. But Trevor Lawrence, to me, hasn't been that good. He's been okay. So I think this game is one to target if you need a quarterback. Like, I wouldn't mind taking Carr. I definitely don't mind taking Kenny Pickett. I definitely think he can take advantage of this matchup, and I like him this week.
Yeah, the Jaguars have given up on average 19.43 fantasy points, 2 quarterbacks each and every week. It's a really good matchup for Kenny Pickett. You mentioned how it doesn't kind of give you so much enthusiasm because he hasn't really scored 20 points as a fantasy quarterback coming off that bye week. He did all right. He needs to work on his mobility personally. 8 rushes for 0 yards in that one score.
Yeah.
Like that's ridiculous. But he needs to get that just over that hump that he's got. He's been able to get 220, 230 passing yards. He can't get past that. And I think he's got to start getting past that if he wants to really start winning games and really have a good chance to make playoffs for him. And I mean, if you have him in fantasy as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. And what kind of helped this week, I thought Najee looked a lot better. I thought
he did.
The bye week, I think, might have helped him. I don't know whether he had a little niggle or whatever, because he kind of played banged up last season, but I definitely thought he looked fresh and a lot better. So, there's a lot to like if you're going off that last performance for the Steelers. So hopefully they can keep improving.
Yeah. So Derek Carr, Kenny Pickett are 2 quarterback options. Some alternate options, of course. I mean, you can look at some good quarterbacks in Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield, Gardner Minshew, Tyrod Taylor. The one that jumps out to me the most, I think personally, is Gardner Minshew because he's really starting every game now for the Colts. And the Colts have receivers. They have Pittman. They have Josh Downs, who's been doing good. And they also have Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss in the backfield to pass down backs.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Just one before we move on. What do you think of Tyrod? Would you keep Tyrod in instead of Daniel Jones? Because I actually thought he gave him a decent chance to win. I know they won, but he actually looked like, they could go and seal it. Because at one stage, I was going, Washington are going to get back into this game, but it didn't happen. I think if Daniel Jones is out there might have been a different story.
Yeah, I think personally, I think Tyrod looks better than Daniel Jones. But now here's the question. You pay Daniel Jones so much money. How are you going to really bench him if he's healthy?
I agree. Yeah, that's a tough one, but depends what you want there. Like just going from what I've seen in like 2 games, I think
Yeah.
Tyrod gives you a better chance. We got a Darren Waller touchdown that I've been waiting on. Couldn't get that with
Yeah. Everybody's been waiting
Daniel
on
Jones.
National Tight End Day.
That's it. So it depends what Dayball wants, but I suppose if you're thinking about starting Tyrod, just keep an eye on what they're doing with Daniel Jones.
Yeah, because he's only 5% owned. And if Daniel Jones is out, I think Tyrod's a good sneaky play.
Yep, agreed.
So those are some other quarterback waiver options. Going into our waiver wire running backs, Keith, where are we getting on the bus to travel?
Getting on the Gus bus, Gus Edwards. I mean, you have to say Gus bus, right? Rushed 14 times for 64 yards and a touchdown. He had that one massive target, which he caught for 80 yards. I mean, he's not going to do that every week, but that was good. He got 21 fantasy points. The big thing I took away from this, I don't know if you see the snaps, he had 14 rushing attempts where Justice Hill had 4. That's where I took, what I took out of this game was that he is now, in my opinion, separate himself. He is the clear RB1 in that backfield. Unless they do what I said and they trade for Derrick Henry, and then I'm like, oh, sorry. But as of now, I think the Gus Bus is secure as the RB1. They play the Cards this week. It's a really good matchup for running backs. Coming off a hot performance, but like that just offense, completely was great. I think he's a good start this week. He's what, 57% owned, so he's at nearly half of leagues. He's out there. I'd go pick him up this week, and you can definitely play him. I think you should outsnap Justice Hill again easily, and hopefully at least hit the 20-point mark in fantasy.
Yeah, Gus the Bus Edwards. He's facing Arizona, and they do very poorly with the running backs that they face. I mean, Arizona gives on average over 20 plus points to running backs each and every week. So that's something to keep in mind, because if Gus the Bus is the man to go on the bus with in Baltimore, then he's the guy that you need to go pick up. And I agree with you. I think Justice Hill, it's not the answer for Hill. And they know Gus Edwards can play. They know he's good. He gets a lot of touches. And if he keeps getting these consistent touches and he still produces, he is the main guy until they get Derrick Henry.
Yeah, exactly. Until they get Henry. I mean, it's okay. You've got Lamar that's going to take, some of the Russian away. But like going from what you've seen last week, just the snap count alone was good enough for me. And then all of a sudden, he puts up over 20 points on fantasy. So he's enough to at least take him off waivers and at least be on a team. I don't think he should be sitting on waivers anymore.
Yeah, and it was a tough Lions defense that you faced, and he still scored 21 points. The running backs this year are just horrendous. They're all over the place. And I think if Edwards plays like that, he's a solid RB2 option going forward. Right now, I'd start him as a flex, personally, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, he could be a high-value RB2.
Yep, agreed.
So, my guy that I want to talk about is Mr. Foreman. Not the guy that is on the grill, but Deonta Foreman. I want to talk about a little bit of Deonta Foreman. 3 touchdowns, 2 rushing, 1 receiving. He had 5 targets from Badgen. He caught 3 of them for 31 yards. He rushed 16 times, 89 rushing yards. He looked really good. And we've seen him look good before when he has opportunities to start. Fields, obviously doubtful, most likely out for week 8. Badgen is going to be the guy. Badgen liked to throw to Foreman, so that's already the connection that he's got with the quarterback, which is already looking good. Roschon Johnson could come back from concussion protocol. I am not concerned on that, though. Personally, I don't think Roschon is the guy there. Don't know why they drafted him there, but I think Deonta Foreman is really good, and I think they're going to keep on using him a lot more, even if Johnson is back and on the field.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably at the running back position. If he's not owned, he's probably the number 1 pickup over Gus the Bus.
63% owned. 63%.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, there's still a lot of them out there. The interesting thing for me was that Darrington Evans still had 14 rushing attempts. I think he got near 48 yards, 50 around that. I mean, that's the interesting thing, is that Foreman put up this big day, but Evans was still in the mix. I mean, going forward, yeah, I agree. I think it's Foreman's, you know what I mean? Even when Roschon comes in, I think Roschon maybe just gets some of the passing work, because that's kind of what people thought he'd factor in as.
Yeah.
But I think he's kind of proven now that, he shouldn't have been inactive all them weeks, and they've got something to go against. I get it was against a bad Raiders defense, horrible against the run, but still he needs to be put in your team going forward. I mean, Herbert's on IR. Roshan, like I said, could get some work in the passing game. Darrington Evans, I don't know whether he'll even be active now with Roshan if he comes back, but I know he got 14 rushing attempts, but still 48 yards. Foreman's definitely the guy to own. Definitely, probably, like I said, the number one running back to take off the waivers over Gus. So yeah, it's definitely worth going. But I just think it's interesting that they did mix someone else in, and he got 14 carries.
Yeah, and I think once Roshan comes back, I think Evans is that healthy scratch type of player that's going to happen.
Exactly, yeah.
First, Deontay Foreman, Gus Edwards probably going to be the two big guys going to be taken off waivers this week.
Yeah, agreed. Like you said, it's been, what the running back position has been like tight ends.
It's gruesome.
In previous years, it's gruesome. Like who do you go for if you're in dire need? And in one of my leagues, I'm in dire need. I've lost James Conner, I've lost Kyron Williams, I lost Nick Chubb.
My goodness.
I'm scraping. I mean, it'll be Javonte Williams and somebody, probably one of these guys that I can get off waivers this week.
Yeah, and some other options that you could be looking for, Keith, and other people as well.
Tell me.
You got to mention Tyler Algier. Got to mention him. 14.2 points, 52.5% owned. Mind you, Bijan should be back healthy and not having that headache next week. But again, they're using Algier a lot more than he was supposed to be intended for it, with Bijan being back and also a first round pick.
Yep.
Some other options: Ezekiel Elliott, 9.10 points, got into the end zone. Joe Henderson, 16.9 points. He is that guy, looks to be in Los Angeles while Kyron Williams is on IR. And then I just want to quickly mention Emari Demercado. He kind of finally got himself on the board with some touches and some fantasy relevancy with 11.5 points. I mean, any of these jump out to you, Keith?
I think Zeke is looking a lot better, and Henderson is interesting. That might be one I take late, just purely because it's a McVay move. He knew him. He put him back in. Royce Freeman still got some touches there as well, but I think Elliott's looking better. I don't know if I'd go for him. I think I'd have Henderson over him.
Yeah, I like Henderson in this mix. Because Henderson's the starter.
Yeah, you know what you're going to get from him.
Yeah, and Demercado's a starter, but he's not that big name guy, and he hasn't really been producing too much. I like Henderson a lot in these four, and I think Henderson is going to be the guy until Kyron comes back.
Yep, agreed with that again.
Going to wide receivers, mind you, I'm going to go first here because I have a bone to pick.
With me?
What? No, maybe with you. I don't know, because maybe you also haven't been picking him up. Why is Joshua Palmer under 70% owned? What is this? What is this?
No,
what is this fiasco? This is crazy. 66.6% owned, 18.3 points against Minnesota this past week. 4 straight games, 10 plus points. He had a 7.5, 133 stat line. He didn't even get it into the end zone. He got wide receiver 1 numbers. 7 plus targets in the last 4 games. He led the Chargers in receiving 2 of the 3 games without Mike Williams there, per Michael F. Flory. I just want to shout that one out because I got that stat from him. But Joshua Palmer, though, the fact that he is under 70% owned, that's a problem. That is a huge problem. I picked him up everywhere that I can. I can't really help anyone else out if they don't want to pick him up.
I agree. I mean, I think he was mine the week after Williams went down. He was my waiver wire ad, and that's when he should have been all grabbed. But, too many people are worried about Quentin Johnson. Guys, I know you like him.
Irrelevant. He's irrelevant.
Might be like, but yeah, for this season, he is irrelevant. It's Josh Palmer. Palmer's putting up better numbers than Williams when he was healthy, and I think to a certain degree, he's putting up better numbers on last year on Williams as well. Palmer is good. He is a good player. Why he's under 70% owned, I have no clue. Maybe people don't want to win their matchups. But guys, people got to go out there. They got to get him. I mean, he's head and shoulders for me the number 1 pickup. If on the wide receiver, if you need a running back, fine. But if you're just out there trying to get a player or trying to grab someone instead of trying to get ahead of someone and get a player off the waiver wires, you go out and you get Josh Palmer.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
you
mean,
take them. People who are desperate for receivers, if you get them and you don't need them, people will offer you. I think they'll trade. They'll try offer you something stupid for them. You'll get them. So you
yeah.
got to. I don't get why he's under 70% owned. It just kind of blows my mind.
I just don't get it. Now, did I drop him before Sunday in one of my leagues? Yes, but I had a valid reason. I dropped him because DJ Moore was on the free agency.
Who's stopping? Who's dropping DJ? What league are you playing in?
It's an 18.
You need to talk to these people.
These people, I don't know what they're doing in fantasy these days. Why is DJ Moore in free agency? So now I have Stephon Diggs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Christian Kirk, Michael Pittman, and DJ Moore.
Just if Palmer's not taken, just go back in for Palmer then. Just add him.
No, that's what I'm going to do. But I need running back.
Yeah,
So I picked up DJ Moore for the value to trade DJ Moore away, and then I'm going to pick up Joshua Palmer right back because clearly this league doesn't know what they're doing.
That's it. I mean, we're telling you what to do. We're on here telling people what to do. People who play in our leagues can listen to us or not listen to us. But I mean,
no, please don't listen to us if you're in our league.
Exactly, but I'm pretty sure listening to us would help you.
Yeah, I mean, we've been mentioning Joshua Palmer almost every single week. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy to see that he's not over 70% on.
And on such an offense like there's Herbert, like it's targeting down the field all the time. Allen, Palmer. I mean, you got to go get them, guys.
I do have some breaking news that just broke out.
Oh, tell me.
Per Stephen A. Smith.
Oh.
The Lions are a fraudulent team.
Stephen A. Smith. I wouldn't.
It's paid millions of bucks. I wish I could get paid millions of bucks, man.
Paid millions of bucks to crap all over people. That's what that guy does.
It's crazy. I mean, anyways, let's go back into your guy. I just want to see you. I just wanted to say that. Your guy. Who is your guy? Who is he?
You should be happy with my guy since he's a Patriots, but it's Kendrick Bourne. I mean, he's had back-to-back good weeks. This week, 7 targets, 6 receptions, 63 yards, a touchdown, 16 fantasy points. Okay, got Miami next, but what are Miami not good? They're not good in the secondary. Cornerbacks, everyone's injured. I mean, if Mac Jones can turn up and play like he did against the Bills, Kendrick Bourne, I think, will feast and have a good day. We just seen, I get he's not A.J. Brown, don't get me wrong, but we just see him go off for Philly purely. Well, he's a great player, but they just do not have good cornerbacks. And I think Kendrick Bourne can take advantage of this. I think he's another good player to take off the waiver wires if you were in need of a receiver.
I don't like it.
Oh, your own player, you don't like it? Why? Because you don't see Mac Jones doing that again. That's why, and you're just going to lose to Miami. And
no, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Bourne. I will say I am impressed that he's been able to have wide receiver 1 numbers in back-to-back weeks, or low end wide receiver 1 numbers in back-to-back weeks, high end wide receiver 2 numbers. But I just don't see this staying consistent because we know Mac Jones isn't consistent, and that's the only issue. That's the only issue that I'm on, because I'm concerned that we're gonna go back to next week. We're gonna go to next week, and Mac Jones is gonna look like his floppy self. They're gonna go into Bailey Zappi. They're gonna go to Malik Cunningham. They're gonna go to Will Grier, whoever the quarterback is that week for backing up. That's my only concern. So
you're telling me as a Patriots fan that you do not trust Mac Jones at all, and you don't see any improvement? No.
I saw improvement a little bit on the win. Because they barely won. But I don't know. I just don't trust Mac Jones.
That's fine. I don't either. But the only good thing I will say is that I think Kendrick Bourne and him seem to have a connection.
They do. And they've had the connection for the last couple of years. It's just Mac, I think he puts pressure on himself, and then he just forces the ball to be thrown anywhere he sees. He feels pressure, he chucks it somewhere. Wherever it goes, into the stands, into the bleachers, wherever it goes, I don't know. But I mean, I just don't trust it. But I love Bourne's value because he's got so much potential in fantasy, and he's being capped because of Mac Jones.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll see what happens this week. But I mean,
I'd like to see what happens.
I don't think it's the worst. I don't think it's the worst pick.
No, he's not the worst pickup. There's other worse pickups, but I do think Bourne, for me, is a streaming option. If he does well again, go pick him up. If you're going to be Keith's going to pick him up, and he's going to cheer because he's going to already have him when he breaks out next week again.
I think he's a good flex play. I mean, if you got to pick him up,
he's got a potential.
He is.
He's got that. risk reward type of player.
Exactly.
At the
That's
moment.
exactly it.
So Joshua Palmer, Kendrick Bourne, our 2 waiver wire wide receiver options. Some other ones is some big names actually in this alternate options. Romeo Dobbs, if Christian Watson goes on IR. Rashee Rice, he was my waiver wide receiver 2 weeks ago. He's doing really good, 17 points. Jahan Dotson, Keith's already talked about him before, 9.3. Right? Did you talk about him? No, you talked about Curtis Samuel, I think.
Curtis Samuel, I did, but I was on the Jahan Dotson train going into this.
Yeah, but he's been doing good. He's been showing up a little bit in recent weeks. And then Josh Downs, a big one. Gardner Minshew likes to target Josh Downs.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, where I was going with my Jahan Dotson was, I really like all of them, and I just like Dotson. Like, I really like Dobbs. I really like Rashee Rice. He's basically, after Kelty, it's Rashee Rice there. If you look at the numbers the last couple of weeks, so he's getting up there. People want to start on him. Josh Downs, Minshew loves him. If you go back and see all the games that Minshew's played this year with him, Josh Downs has been a great for fantasy. Jahan Dotson, up and down. Like, he was the one I was really high on coming into the season, but out of them ones going on the screen now, I'd have the other 3 over Jahan Dotson.
Yeah, 100%. Jahan Dotson, number 4 option out of these 4 players. But these are some big names that we didn't even talk about and are still big in waiver wires.
Shows you how deep wide receiver is, though, in fantasy.
It does.
Shows you how deep. Compared especially compared to like running back, where it's just like nothing.
Yeah. So go pick up those players, or else you're going to be hearing us yell at you again next week. Exactly. Tight ends. We'll start with you, Keith. Let's hear your guy. We've already touched a little bit on him. I'm sure you want to touch a little bit more on him as well.
Yeah, probably don't need to great detail because we've already talked about it. But Dalton Kincaid, I mean, he did everything this past week other than score a touchdown. I mean, 8 targets, 8 receptions, 75 yards, 15 fantasy points. As we spoke about, Dawson Knox out with the wrist. How long is it going to be? Not sure. We're kind of guessing 4 to 6. So he goes on IR at least for the 4 weeks. He clearly, we seen from week 1, he's there with Josh Allen. They have a connection. You know, they're good. Going forward now, it's like whether he gets 8 targets and catches every single target. Don't expect that to happen. But what I would expect is maybe 5 or 6, and he finds himself in the end zone with a touchdown. Boom, gonna get good numbers. So I think he's a guy rest of the season you put in and just leave him there, especially with Knox being out.
Yeah, I'm not a fan for starting rookie tight ends, but
me too.
This year's tight ends have kind of changed. Laporta and Kincaid have kind of been showing off, and I like Kincaid, and it solidifies with Knox being out for an extended period of time. Kincaid's a must start if you really are in deep trouble with tight end.
Yep, I mean, I can't against the Bucs as well. It's another good matchup.
Yeah, exactly. Another one for me. We already touched on him a little bit with the injury report. If he is active, which he should be active, 24.6% owned, 11.6 points against Kansas City. Back-to-back weeks with double-digit numbers. The Bears next week, they allow on average about 11.67 points to tight ends. But here's where it gets interesting with Gerald Everett, because if you do pick him up this week and he does do you good again, he goes on to face weeks after the Jets and the Lions, who have given up the most tight end points in the NFL currently. So I think the next 3 weeks is solid performance from tight ends in Los Angeles, which is Los Angeles Chargers, which is Gerald Everett. And I think Gerald Everett could be a solid plug and play guy for the next 3 weeks if you are having any bye week issues with tight ends.
Yeah, I don't mind Gerald Everett. The problem with Everett was he always got banged up. He always got injuries.
Yes.
I like him everywhere he's been. Always seems to find the end zone. Like, always a good man to get you a touchdown, even if he's got like 2 targets and he's not doing a whole lot. He somehow find themselves in the end zone. He kind of saves your fantasy day. So I don't mind it. Another high power offense. We spoke about Herbert spreads the ball around. So if he's healthy, he gets, this week, and you said the good matchups coming up, he's definitely a guy that you can probably just, leave in your team for the next few weeks and see how it plays out.
Yeah, 100%. Kincaid and Everett are 2 tight end options. Some other ones, it's a little bit bare in the waivers for tight ends this week, but David Njoku had some decent points, 10.4 points. Jonnu Smith, I only put his name up there only because he's still getting some targets. Didn't have too many points this week, but he's still another player to stream. Taysom Hill back-to-back weeks with double-digit points. I don't know what's going on with him, whether he's going to actually be fantasy relevant. Don't expect it, but another streaming option. And then Kate Otten, 9.3 points. First time we're mentioning him on the pod. I don't know, some solid streaming options. David Njoku probably the best one out of these.
Yeah, I think Njoku's probably PJ Walker's safety blanket, so you're probably good for about 9-10 points. Hopefully weekly with him. Jonu, I like Jonu. Obviously a bit of a down week, but still see the targets this week. But he can bounce back. He was putting back-to-back weeks there of being very fantasy relevant. Certainly over Kyle Pitts. Kate Otten, that's not a guy I figure in a whole lot. I mean, yeah, we're talking about it for the first time. He needs to prove to me that he can do it in multiple weeks. Taysom Hill, the only thing with Taysom Hill, I would say, is that he has this hybrid role, quarterback, whatever. Whereas you can still get points off him, you know what I mean, in your tight end slot if he's running the ball and stuff like that. So, but it's kind of a wild play, you know, kind of a little bit desperation play. So yeah, I'd lean on Jonu and Njoku out of them.
Yeah, exactly the same for me. Again, another alternate options for the tight ends if you need to stream them or if you are in deep trouble and need to pick them up. But it's time for Monday Night Football. I don't even want to put this stat up because it's not looking too good. Keith currently has a 3-game lead against me in Monday Night Football. Obviously, we didn't have the pod last week, but he did pick the Cowboys to win. I picked the Chargers to win. Didn't end up working so well. But who knows? Maybe we might have some differences this week. Maybe we won't. Most likely won't. Keith,
I don't think.
Who are you picking this week to win?
It won't be a shock. I'm going with I'm just looking at what I wrote down earlier for the points. I'm going with obviously the 49ers. McCaffrey.
You want to go against the Vikings?
Oh, I love Kirk Cousins, but
Kirk in prime time?
Kirk in prime time with all his jewels and his chains and all. But yeah, no, it's not going to be Kirk. CMC is active. I just seen there, so I'm guessing he'll be starting. Debo's out, but that's no worry. I think Purdy will find Ayuk, and I think they will win 27-13.
27-13. Okay, so you think it's actually going to be like an easy game for the 49ers?
I do, yeah. I think the 49ers defense will squash Kirk Cousins, unfortunately.
See, I think I'm going to go with my cousin this week.
Are you really?
To do terrible. But still...
Well played.
Still, 49ers are going to win, but it's a closer game, 28-27 final score. So, again, we have similar ending to what the 49ers are going to have. You have 27 points, I have 28. But I think it's going to be close. I think, personally, it's going to be close. Primetime Kirk doesn't have that great of a record. He's 12-21 in primetime. And that also includes a 2-10 record on Monday Night Football, which is not good. Mm-hmm. But so you might go 2-11 in primetime on Monday Night Football. But I think he's going to make the 49ers run for their money, and I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to come down to the end.
I hope it's your score because that's going to be a great game.
It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a really good game.
45 minutes time or whatever it is. But I think it's going to be a good game. I'd like that scoreline. The Vikings are just, like I said earlier, they do what they do. They try and outscore teams, but they're against the top defense, and I think I can just see Kirk get squashed. But hopefully I'm wrong in terms of the scoreline. I still think like you have the 49ers to win, but I'd like to see a bit of a basketball game end to end and high scoring on each side.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for this game. I think it's gonna be a good game. The Vikings have to win. I don't think they will, but the Vikings have to win. So
yeah, well, it's kind of like
a must win for them.
I think we're thinking about like Titans, where they might just have a fire sale of anyone that's good. It could be the same. Could be the same here, other than of course JJ. But anything that's kind of going left, they'll kind of blow up their team. Yeah. And then who knows what to do with Kirk.
Yeah. Well, that's our Monday Night Football predictions. Keith and I both have the 49ers winning it this week. Again, if you haven't done so already and you're looking to purchase a trophy, ring, or a belt, go to trophysmack.com/sportstimehq. The NHL just started. My Bruins are doing great. And then the NBA, they're going to be starting very soon. So go get some trophies and everything for your fantasy teams. Also heard that they do fantasy soccer as well. So go check that out. trophysmack.com/sportstimehq. Also, use code SportsTimeHQ on Underdog Fantasy. They'll match your first deposit up to $100. And Keith, It's the over-unders, higher or lower.
Let's go.
Brandon Ayuk, 74.5 receiving yards tonight, higher or lower?
With Debo out, higher.
Higher, indeed. I agree with you on that. And then I just want to mention as well, Primetime Kirk, Underdog Fantasy is doing a special tonight with Primetime Kirk. It's a flash boost. You pick 2, you get 4 times the payout. You pick 3, 8 times the payout. You pick 4, 13 times payout. You pick 5 and you get all 5 right, 25 times payout, which is pretty good, personally, in my opinion.
That's good.
So Kirk Cousins, 24.5 completions, higher or lower? 24.5. Mind you, if you get higher on Ayuk and you pick the right one for Kirk Cousins, you might get 4 times payout.
You might. I think lower.
With 24.5, you think lower?
Yeah, I'll go lower.
Even though he has had over 24.5 in 5 of his 6 games.
Yeah, well, to get your scoreline, what you said, it'll definitely be over. But to get mine, I go under. So yeah, I'll go under.
I'm going higher. Going higher on that one. But once again, use code SportsTimeHQ on Underdog Fantasy. They'll patch your first deposit up to $100. That's going to do it this week for our show. I was joined by my great co-host, Keith. Follow him all over social media at SwampDonkey_90. Be sure to follow him also on Instagram at HuddleUp_NFL. Fernando, I'm your host of Sports Time HQ. We'll see you all next week.